boys, listen up. It's important because this cluster is really fast track. Boys and girls, apologies. It's really fast track. And next week, I'm going to give you assessment 2 and 3. All right? I think there's 4 and 5. Okay? So be mindful of it. If you just keep cracking on with the work, you'll get it done. Does that make sense? But just stay on top and we'll keep giving you advice where you should be at with the assessments. All right? Firstly, has anyone started to download? I'm pretty sure Glenn would have mentioned it. Has anyone started to download OpenProj or Microsoft Project or Gantt Project or Smartsheet? Yeah? No? Don't worry about it because we're going to start it on Monday. So you've got a bit of time up your sleeve, but start thinking about it, maybe doing a little bit of research over the weekend. All of the Android computers, it's best to use OpenProj, which is the free one, or Project Libre. I forget which one it's called. It's changed the name. It's not the greatest, but it's simple and it's free. That's why we're using it. The best one I would probably say is Microsoft Project. A lot of people are starting to, can you just turn that down, guys? A lot of people are starting to use Smartsheet. I know I talked to Saltbox Building, I think he's called, and he uses it. We're going to be using OpenProj or Project Libre, whatever it's called, just because it is a free download. So can you see at the top of the page, you got Gantt Project and OpenProj? They're the ones we're going to get you to start downloading, and you're going to be doing some planning. This is probably the main part of this cluster. Can you see the programs in there? You may have seen them with your boss, those that are really proactive. That's the main part of the next 3 weeks, yeah? So please be mindful of that. I'm going to start that on Monday night. There's Gantt Project. There's a few others. I knew some students actually they used the spreadsheet, and one of them did such a great job, I didn't have a problem with it. But there's a few things that you need to understand within it. Predecessing, successing activities, critical paths and that. And I find that really important in planning a job, but I'll talk about that next week. What I want you to do is over the weekend or tomorrow with your boss, ask him what planning and scheduling program that he uses. I reckon probably 80% don't use any. You boys and girls are in the 21st century. I reckon it's imperative now that you start using these planning programs. Yeah, because it's going to help you, but you need to slowly learn it, okay? So we're going to teach us how to use it as of next week. What I do want you to do is, I've set up a help page. All right. Now this is really handing over to you to research and find out all these answers. I'm going to keep talking about them next week. But what I've actually done is, Glenn's gone through it, so I'm not going to read the whole lot, right? Because I know you'll get bored to tears. I want you to look at it and look at each of the examples I've put up. So I've got an example for a quality policy statement. I've got an example for your organisational structure. Okay. And remember, these aren't massive documents that need to be filled out, pages of stuff. You just got to answer it. Okay. WHS is 1 or 2 sentences. Construction procedures and planning. That's actually going to be part of the procedures, the planning programs we do next week. But I still want you to talk about it. Okay? I want you to go through that and look at that over the weekend and start getting a real wriggle on with assessment 1. You pretty much should be looking at really getting on top of this. I don't know, there's 20 questions, having about 10 of them done by the weekend at least. Now, I think we've got it to be complete, not this Sunday, but the Sunday after. We're going to try and aim for that, but we're going to let it lapse for a week or so just because there's a few questions you might not be sure of. And while we're doing these lessons the next 3 weeks, we can answer them. All right? But start getting into a pattern of getting this answered now. Like, I really think you should be up to about question 9. Okay? And each night I'm going to talk about them in more depth. Is that all right? If you have a look, you'll go down and you'll say changes to standard plans and specs. So how do you communicate your changes? Do you email, fax, SMS, or do you have a workflow system that automatically completes the changes? And Glenn showed you that on Monday night, I think. Yeah. I'm just going to pick a couple of random ones. What's your process for control and record keeping for on-site personnel? So list how you will communicate with your on-site personnel, subbies, suppliers, or consultants. How do you keep a record of it? So maybe one paragraph. That's about 2 or 3 sentences, really. It's not a lot. Yeah, just as long as you can answer the question. Let me have a look at a couple others. Back charge, unsatisfactory work notice. What is your understanding of defective building work? What should it comply to? How would you rectify this from a poor subcontractor? Okay, we discussed that more in assessment 4. All right. There's part 17 and 18. I actually refer you to the contract. Remember the New South Wales residential contract? Clause 18, how are you assured that you will be paid? So how are you going to explain your procedure for your variations? What are you going to do? And not only like you're doing this as an assessment, this is what you're going to be doing as a builder, like your company management plan. And I could just about guarantee a lot of your small time builders don't do that, but this gives you a real understanding of how your procedures are and how you do it. Is that all right? Defects liability period, go to clause 24. What's the terms and conditions? How will you document that? All right. And each night I'm going to keep talking about it and then we'll go on. So please, just to stay on track, get a real good, I reckon, 50 to 75% of this complete. If you've got most of it complete by the weekend, you're well on track. Yeah. Are there any questions? I'll talk about that more. I don't want to flood your minds too much because Glenno is going to go for it tonight. Any questions? Is everyone happy? Or this is the part of the year that everyone hates us because we give you a heap of work. But everyone can shout us a beer at the end of November. What do you reckon? All right, I'm going to hand over and get out of your hair. I'll see you all next week, boys and girls. Thanks a lot.
Okay, look, hopefully I haven't lost any transmission. Okay, everything is humming along sweetly, I think. I'll just make a couple of adjustments here. Chats. Okay, that's better. All right, let's just look at what we've got to do tonight. Okay, hopefully everyone's done their attendance choice. We're looking at the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act and then BASIX, okay, with our development application. What happened, there was an exercise the other night that required you to complete a development application. Now, what we've got tonight, we've got one that's fillable, so you can actually download it and complete it at home and just upload it into one of the assessment boxes. Okay, so just with Brett's gone through that. Okay, so this is just an assessment checklist. We're just using Wollongong at the moment. I mean, you could log on to any council at all and get all the relevant information. Okay, it's just easy for us to use Wollongong. Now, what it is, most councils will have things that are very, very similar. Okay, they're just forms. This is a checklist for an application for minor developments. Okay, dwelling houses, including alterations, additions, etc. Okay, it includes swimming pools, sheds, probably bigger pergolas over a certain size. It's just something to look at. We're not going to go through it because it's very painful. Okay, you can do it as well as I can. But the thing is, the great thing about having having a digital age is you can actually log on anywhere and have a look at their form. Some forms are PDF fillable, which is really, really good. Here's an example. I'll just open it up now. This is Matt Green. Now he filled it out. Now you've got to fill out this a DA. Okay, so there's one here that you can actually look at, and it'll give you an idea on what you have to do. Okay, so it's a development application that we're looking at. We're not modifying a development consent. You're going to do it for the Smith House. Okay, you can call yourself whatever your letterhead was that you used earlier on in the year. Make up your ABN number. Okay, this document there is for you to compare. Okay, so we've got the applicant, which is Matt Green. You know what you can do with that? You can actually, if you want to sign it in something fancy, just pick a style of text, you know, might be italic or something, just to make it look a little bit different if you want to do that. But you can actually fill these in. Yeah, well, this is just here, so this isn't PDF fillable now because he's already put it, he's already completed it. Okay, so it goes through development proposal. You know, you've got to describe what the development is. So if we're talking about the Smith House, it's a new dwelling, and you would just describe it. Okay. You then look through the value of the development. Okay, so the council wants to know the price of the development. It describes what you've got to allow in there, and not all contracts will be exactly the same because sometimes the owners can only afford to maybe get one bathroom complete, get the ensuite finished. They've got no children at this stage, and they'll say, look, we'll finish the other ones down the track. So this value is more, there's a percentage that gets paid to the long service board. Okay, so that's probably as much what that value is for, or one of the purposes of the value, so they can calculate how much needs to be you need to contribute. Okay, so this is just, we talked about this the other night. If the builder actually completes the document, which is what Matt Green did here, down here you've got to get the owner's consent. Okay, I'm not quite sure with owner one, owner two, if there's two owners that are on the deeds of the house, you may have to get both owners to sign the document. I'm not 100% sure on that, but you could actually ask when you're filling the forms out at the council that you're at. Okay, most of it is pretty straightforward. There is a lot to fill out. Okay, so look, just with this, okay, it's got the floor area. All these things you should be able to put your hands on virtually straight away because you've done the Smith cottage. Okay, so that example's there for you. It's always much easier if you've got some sort of an example there because it takes away a lot of the uncertainty. You've just got to change the details. Okay, so there's an activity that goes with that, which you'll just upload. Here's that's the fillable document. You can put boxes and things there, so that's all good. So that one's for you to complete later on and then upload. So this one's just for Wollongong. So the activities there. You've got to also do, I'll just open this up. There's a statement of environmental effects. Now, okay, this is just an example as well. So with most applications in most councils, you've got to actually provide a statement of environmental effects. Okay, so this gives you the heading. You can make your own headings up in your own document, the application details, description of development, a description of the site, context and setting, okay, environmental impacts, flora and fauna, natural and technological hazards, waste disposal, and then your signature. Okay, this is actually preparing you for what you will have to do as a builder. Okay, You know, okay, you might be in a company big enough that you'll employ someone to do it for you. But it still pays you to have an awareness of exactly what you need to do. So that's a statement of the environmental effects. Okay, let's go back. Okay, so I'll open that up later as well. Okay, environmental planning. Okay, so what I want you to do, there's a couple of things here. There's some activities here. There's a forum. So what you do, you can just type in and put your answer. You have to do this because these are all linked. So, okay, we've got what is the environmental planning and assessment? What is environmental planning and assessment? So if you Google that, put your answers in, that's the start. The sooner you do it, the sooner we get a few in, the sooner we have a look at them, the sooner we move on. There's your incentive. Okay, so like I said, just Google Environmental Planning and Assessment Act. We've got no answer up yet. Okay, Corey's the first one up. Thanks, Corey. Let's just have a look what you've put up. It aims to analyse and minimise the environmental impact of construction project and make sure they meet all environmental regulations. Look, that's a pretty good summary. That's pretty good, Corey. It's all acceptable. There we go. We got anyone else there? Okay, now we've got a few up there. Okay, Moe. Let's have a look. The environmental planning assessments encompass areas such as land use, socio-economics, transportation, economic and housing characteristics, air pollution, noise pollution, the wetlands, habitat of endangered species, flood zones, susceptibility, coastal zones, erosion, yeah, and what your particular house, the impact that your particular development will have on those things. So, okay, look, that's pretty good. We don't need to continue on. You need to upload that because that's all. We look at that in your progress bar. That's all linked to your progress bar. All right, so we get back. Okay, there's another one here which actually will show what it is. This is the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act, or just a brief summary of it. Okay, the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act requires any relevant planning authority to take into account the impacts of the environment. Most developments require a statement of environmental effects detailing the impacts to both natural and human environments. Larger projects require an environmental impact assessment. So that's the difference. Larger projects require an environmental impact assessment. Most developments, and it depends on your council, require a statement of environmental effects. Okay, so that's the difference. Okay, environmental planning and assessment. Okay, this is the act, so you can click on this link. If the links aren't working tonight, it's my fault, 100%. I mean, would have been my fault anyway, but okay, so that takes you to the environmental planning and assessment regulation, New South Wales government and the New South Wales legislation. All right, so you can actually, you've used this, you can scroll down and you can source any information that you think you need. All right. So that's shown. Okay, one thing that I didn't ask to start with, did anyone talk to their employer about planning and scheduling and how far into it they go and what programs, if they use any programs, or they do it from the estimate, the plan, the quotation that they gave the owner, or did anyone follow that up? If there's no one puts anything, and I'll just take it as a no. But it is the thing about talking to people about these things is you can learn so much. Sometimes by talking to someone and getting some inside information, it saves you some possible mistakes down the track. All right, we've got an activity with that. Okay, we're going to use Microsoft Project for broad schedule, but not too much in depth. That's good, Tim. Yeah, that's what your boss uses. Look, everyone has different methods. It's just interesting to see or to hear what people use. Okay, here's another one. Here's another forum. So the quicker that we get these forums answered, the quicker we move on. So, okay, what is a development control plan? Do the same thing. Research a council website that you're familiar with and explain in your own words. Okay, you need to do this because it's all part of your progress bar, part of the unit. So, you know, if a couple of you can at least put something up pretty quick, we can have a look at it and then we can move on. Okay, that's good. What is a development contour plan? Kamal, can I use yours? I'm sure you wouldn't mind. Development control plans contain specific controls to guide certain types of development and achieve particular development outcomes within certain areas. A DCP is a supplementary development guideline that supports council's primary planning instruments. That's great, Kamal. Okay, so if you, as I said, every council will have, they'll all be slightly different, but they'll all have the same message. Okay, so let's go to Jai. Development control plan contains specific controls to guide certain types of development and achieve particular development outcomes within certain areas. Okay, look, that's great. As I said, all councils will have a similar meaning, but they'll all be worded differently. All right, so let's go back to our page. Okay, so what are we up to? Down to here. Okay, so we just did what is a development control plan. The next one is, actually I've got to show it. Okay, that next one, if you keep refreshing your screen, research the Environmental Planning and Assessment Regulation 2000 and describe how a development control plan is to be prepared. There's the hint, number 16. So if you put that in your search engine, as I said, if we can keep it moving along, it's beneficial for you because you're going to finish early. Or you won't finish early, you won't finish any later than you need to. I'll just go back and open some things up. Okay, let's have a look. Josh, thanks. Okay, development control plan must be in the form of a written statement and may include supporting maps, plans, diagrams, illustrations, and other materials. The development control plan must describe the land to which it applies and must identify any local environment plan or deemed environmental planning instrument applying to that land. That's great. Okay, I'll just show you what, there's a snapshot here. And as I said, all councils would be slightly different. Okay, development control plan. A development control plan must be in the form of a written statement, which is exactly what Josh said. I think this is the one where Josh got his, so it made it absolutely perfect. All right, so it's pretty easy to find your way around the council websites. Wollongong they just had an update, an upgrade recently to their website. So all the links that we had to Wollongong have had to be upgraded because they're all changed from last year. So okay, that's there for everyone to have a look at. Okay, let's just have a look at the Wollongong's council's development control plan. Actually, I might close that and come back. I'll open it up so that you can actually click on it yourself. Okay, so that's shown. All right, if we look at this, Wollongong's development control plan, and it explains here what it is. So the local environmental plan and statewide rules. Okay, for an example, an LEP might tell you how big your house can be compared to the size of your land. So we've got a floor space ratio there. Okay, and the DCP will outline details like where windows or balconies should go. Okay, so you can't, in certain instances, the council will say, well, look, you can't have a veranda there because it's overlooking your neighbour's pool. You can't have a window there because it's going to look into your neighbour's bathroom. Okay, so, and they're just small snapshots of what they can actually ask you to rectify or change or alter. Okay, if anyone knows Joe Nolan here, he just had to, he had some louver windows in his house on a stairwell, and they've asked him to put, to restrict the opening of it because when they're fully open, he can look straight into his neighbour's kitchen or bathroom or something. I don't know why he'd be worried about something like that, but you know, okay, he had to do it. So, okay, so if you look at this, we've got the control plans, planning proposals, state and regional planning policies, local environmental plans, and we're not going to go through all of these, but the headings are there. You can just click on them and you can actually find out more information. You know, is my property bushfire prone? Let's have a look. Okay, there's the information you can go to. You can check on a map. And as I said, we're not going to go down and look at them all because, you know, laws and guidelines. And we're probably looking at Wollongong's at their best at the moment because it's only been upgraded in the last 12 months. Okay, so like I said, the digital age gives you access, fingertip access to so many sources of information. Development and okay, this one now we're going to go and have a look at Sydney. I'll just open or show this one. So we just had a quick look at Wollongong. We have a look at Sydney, local environmental plans. Okay, so this is Sydney's. This would be similar and yet different from Wollongong's, which would be different from Wagga's, which would be different from Maria's and Nowra's and everyone else's. All similar, but local council can apply the regulations or word the regulations how they see fit, as long as they adhere to the regulations. Okay, development applications. You know, you're going to do a job in Sydney. You can go up there, as you can see what's different from where your usual work takes place, and you can do it just at a click. You know, that's the beauty of it. Sometimes your certifier, if you're using a private certifier, he can provide a lot of information for you because you're not going to change certifiers from district to district. You just get familiar with a certifier, build a relationship, and you then can source information from that person. All right, so that was Sydney. So Wollongong and Sydney, just different sites, different ways of setting things out. This is another one really important thing that you can actually do is you can actually see building and development proposals that are currently before the council. So I'll just show this one. Okay, development application on exhibition, and this is Wollongong Council. Oh, okay, well that'd be right. There we go. Glenn said that blame him, and there we go. So we will go to their homepage. We will go to DA assessments. Forms, business issues, trees and planning research, issue development, resident homes, checklist. Okay, we don't want to go skydiving. Okay, so a few DAs. Few current development applications. Forms, resident home, skydiving, development assessment, determinations. Okay, there we go, determinations. Development consents page. There we go, okay.
Sound's gone, Glenn.
Okay, how's that? Am I back on?
Back again.
Daniel? Back, okay, thanks. Okay, so here we're looking at development consent, so we can pick any suburb we want. We can go to Bulli. Okay, and there's a heck of a lot of activity in Bulli. Okay, it's got the description, the address, what lot number it is, and the DA numbers. All these DA numbers vary. Each one has an individual number for each individual development application. Okay, these are consents, but you can also look at development applications as well. All right, so virtually everything that all the information that you need, you can actually, I will be a resident. Okay, forms, flood information, rates, the whole lot, but you know, we're just more interested in lodge development applications, and there's the information. Okay, development assessment. Okay, so that's all good. So we'll close that. Okay, now what I think is pretty important now is BASICs. Okay, everyone needs a BASIC certificate. Okay, all houses. Okay, if you're submitting a plan for a new house, you need a BASIC certificate. If you're submitting a plan for an addition, you need a BASIC certificate. So what you need to do, okay, I'll just go back, I'll just open it up. I want you to tell me what a BASIC certificate is. Okay, I'm just give me a minute or a second. Okay, so now you can actually log on. There's a forum there. What is a BASICs? Some people say basics, BASICs. Okay, so if you can put in what you believe a BASIC certificate is. Okay, so let's have a, okay, let's go with Callum. Okay, Callum. The BASIC assessment tool analyzes data relating to the design of your proposed dwelling and determines how this scores against water and energy targets. That's great. The dwelling design must meet specific targets before the proposed development can be issued with a BASIC certificate. That's spot on. That's great work, Callum. That's good. We'll go back. We'll have a look at Kieran. New South Wales government initiative that ensures new homes are designed and built to use less potable water and produce fewer greenhouse gas emissions with the purpose of providing a sustainable future. Yeah, look, that's pretty close to it as well. Look, it's a really important government initiative, and it is about designing better houses using tank water. You know, okay. If you have water tanks on site, what sort of, okay, this is what I wanted to look at about basics. What sort of things can you use your tank water for? Okay, just have a think about that. Water the garden, we just had that from here. Okay, one of the toilet, yeah, all the toilets are washing, yeah, that's it. We've washing machines. You can't have it anywhere near a sink or a basin where people could drink it because it's not necessarily clean or bacteria free, but it's certainly good enough for you outside, washing the car, watering the garden, running it through your cisterns and your washing machine. Okay, so this is the BASIC certificate. This is that site. When you just click on the Building Sustainability Index, requirements apply to all residential dwelling types and are part of the development application process in New South Wales. So it's part of the development application process now. Okay, BASICS is one of the strongest sustainable, okay, yeah, or for putting out a fire. I grew up on a farm and we used tank water for everything, especially drinking. Yeah, look, you know, I drink our tank water. So as far as I know, it hasn't had any an effects, but maybe it has. Okay, so with this in New South Wales, there are BASICS requirements for water and energy uses. Okay, if we're looking at energy uses, some of the things that you might have, you could have solar panels. I don't know whether solar panels would necessarily rate with it, but certainly the globes, the sort of lighting that you have in your house. You can have LED lights, yeah, an RVAL, you can have insulation. Yeah. And we just had a question in the class about is it something that the builder would fill out? It's something that the council won't release your plans until they get a BASIC certificate. You can do it yourself, but there are companies now that you would send them your plans with the details and specifications, and they would then do it for you. You know, it's up to you. I had one done recently, and I think it was probably around $300, $380 or something to get the BASIC certificate. And they did all the calculations. So, yeah. Okay, if you look at this, just this about BASICs, you know, over here we can get, you know, about getting a BASIC certificate, planning approvals. Okay, let's click on that. The BASIC requirements are an integral part of the development process in New South Wales. Once the design plans are complete, follow the steps below. Okay, obtain a BASIC certificate. Now you can either do that yourself, and I think what happens is you fill a form out with all these details of your project and you send it to a site in New South Wales, the New South Wales government, and they'll actually tell you whether you comply or not. But there's a lot of information you actually have to send them. So sometimes for the benefit of your business, it's just as easy to pay someone a few $100s to have it done for you. Okay, assessing your application. The council assesses your application. If approved, it must be built according to the BASIC commitments. Okay, so what happens is you can't get it rubber stamped in it. They might say you need a bigger eave to protect this sliding door from the afternoon sun or the late afternoon sun. And once you get the certificate, you can't say, well, oh heck, I don't want that big eave there, I'm going to shorten it up. They actually inspect it, or they should be inspecting it. So it's something that you need to adhere to. Okay, and for an occupation certificate, you've got to attach the BASIC certificate to the application for an occupation certificate. So it isn't something that is just whimsical. It's very, very, very important. Okay, so if you look at this, we can look at energy. It gives you a bit of an example. I'll come back to this, but you can do energy. I'll go back, and you can do water as well. You can go back. Okay, you can do thermal comfort. Okay, and there's a heck of a lot of information within each one of these. And here it is, thermal comfort methods. And this is the do-it-yourself method. Simplified assessment for single dwelling houses that use common construction materials. So if we wanted to do it ourselves, we can click on that. And you can follow these instructions. Okay, we're not going to go through that because you don't need to know how to do it. You just need to be aware of what needs to be done. Okay, so if we go back, like I said, I just think these sites now are so good. Some are a little bit confusing. Some are a little bit harder to use than others, but the information is there at your fingertips. Okay, here's just and we can only look at, we can't look at every item, but okay, this is just another form, a data checklist for a single dwelling. So it's just a single dwelling. It's nothing. It's not an extension or renovation. It's just a single dwelling. Okay, same thing that you get with every form. You've got your project address. You've got a lot of information. You've got I like these little yellow mustardy coloured highlighters. So with project type, separate dwelling house, an attached dwelling. So you've got to specify what sort of project type it is. The site details, the site area, the roof area, the conditioned floor area, and the unconditioned floor area. Not 100% sure what conditioned and unconditioned floor areas are. Okay, landscape, that might be something that. Okay, I just got information from Stuart and he said bathroom, laundry and garage aren't conditioned areas. Okay, so I got that right?
The garage specifically, yeah, just say garage.
Yeah, just the garage. Okay, so it's unconditioned, the garage? Unconditioned. So the garage would be classified as unconditioned. All right, so you look at water, total area of garden and lawn. Okay, they want to know whether you use low water species or high water species. So a lot of the time our local vegetation is more hardy. Okay, so with this, for bathroom fittings, what happens? Most bathroom fittings are rated for their efficiency. Okay, they have a star rating on it, just like your fridges and washing machines and all your other appliances. They have a star rating. And what happens is when you get your BASIC certificate, they'll ask you what sort of fittings you're using, what sort of dishwasher you're using, and they'll check to see what sort of rating those appliances and fittings get. The rainwater tank, the area delivered to the tank, a stormwater tank, you know, I highlighted that. List where the tank water is to be used, and this is where we just said it a minute ago. We said toilet cisterns, external taps, laundry, washing machine. Can you think of any more? And Adrian said fighting bushfires. Josh said that they used to drink it on their farm. Yeah, and look, if you're on a farm or somewhere that's fairly clear, not near an industrial area, you're not getting any real road pollution, I suppose, or industrial pollution. Hopefully, maybe Josh could say that they lived out away from all those sorts of things, and therefore the water was a little bit cleaner. Okay, grey water, recycling. Okay, with grey water, which is your grey water would be from your washing machine. That would be grey water because it's had soaps and things through it. And I'm not quite sure what legally you can use it for, but we disconnected our washing machine and we used to just channel the pipe around the garden so that everything that drained from the washing machine went straight into the garden and on the lawn. And we used, I'm just trying to think what sort of soaps that they were used. They were, it'll come to me the word, it's not there at the moment. But okay, so this just goes through the things that you can do. Okay, this is your do it yourself. Soapy strawberries. No, actually, Jacob, they weren't soapy strawberries. But all right, so on this is the option. You can do it yourself. So we talked about this some of these forms that you can actually do it yourself rather than pay someone else to do it for you. So you can look at these forms and you can decide yourself. Yeah, no, we didn't have food growing from it. We actually had plants. We had some native plants and also some roses and things like that. But yeah, I can imagine if you had it near the strawberry patch. Okay, so we can open that. Now, this is, I actually quite liked these couple of things here. Okay, this is the basics checklist for single dwellings. You know, this actually shows you a little bit more on the house and what the sort of house they're talking about. Okay, so we've got a single dwelling, and the tool assesses a single home project by looking at 3 components of sustainable building design: water use, greenhouse gas emissions due to energy consumption, thermal comfort, which can be trees. Okay. One thing that you can do hand in hand with your basics certificate and making your house more sustainable is your vegetation, your landscaping. You can have deciduous trees. You know, you might have them on the western side of your house. So in summer, they protect your house from the hot sun. And yet in winter, when you want the house to be warm, the leaves are gone and they let the sun in, which warms the rooms up just a little bit. So there is a lot of things you can do. Okay, I just clicked on multi-dwelling. Okay, so here we have multiple dwelling, and you can see underneath here they're talking about light shelves for improved natural lighting, solar hot water system, natural light in kitchen and bathroom areas. It is, I mean, there is so many things that you can do. A lot of them aren't expensive. It's just having a little bit of knowledge. Okay, ceiling fans for cooling. You know, you can have ceiling fans, or you can have a pedestal fan. A pedestal fan is just one of the upright ones, you know, that you'd sit on a table, the old-fashioned ones. I'm not sure which one would be more efficient, but a bit of air movement's good. I worked in a house once that had like a 1 metre exhaust fan, and what it did, it ducted all the air in the house straight outside. So what they did, it was a big house, they would sit in the lounge room or living room, they'd pick a room and sit in it, they would turn this massive exhaust fan on, they would close all the other windows in the house, and they'd open the windows in that living room, and the breeze that was coming through those windows was like being hit by a southerly. Okay, so that was and that was their answer to air conditioning, and it was actually pretty efficient. Okay, so we go back. So okay, you can see here, you know, as I said, it just tells you the different. We can go to swimming pools if we wanted to. Modelling process. Okay, this is for additions and alterations, but I'll leave this. It's got, as I said, it's got so many functions that you can actually use. Okay, so that was that one there. If we have a look at the guide, this is the basics guide for alterations and additions. Now, so okay, this is how they look at it. It's just an introduction. It describes the process of applying for a simulation. Hang on, whoa, I'm all over the place there. Okay, before you start running simulations, we recommend you contact the Basics Help Desk to check whether simulation will be permitted for your project. Okay, so if you have a look here, why you believe that your project cannot fully comply with the BASIC's construction and glazing commitments. Okay, it was more this, the modelling process. That was the part that I was interested in, and this was how they said existing, the reference, and the proposed. Okay, and it gives the definitions here. The modelling process for alterations and additions is more involved than for a new dwelling. You need to run 3 separate simulations: existing, the model, you have to model the existing dwelling and document all assumptions about the thermal performance of the existing building fabric. And I don't know whether any of us could actually truly complete that adequately, or whether you would need someone to come in and then make the determination on your behalf. Okay, it has the documentation requirements there. If the thermal loads meet the criteria described in the modelling process section, you will need to collect the following documentation. Okay, there is a lot of work. I think it would be just as easy to employ someone, but it is nice to know some of the background, and it's also good to be able to actually find the documentation that you need. Okay, this one here, this actually talks about passive design, shading. Here we go here. Okay, so if you have a small leaf, what you can do sometimes, if we look at this section here, and there are some support notes here. Okay, radiant heat from the sun passes through glass and is absorbed by building elements and furnishings, which then re-radiated inside the dwelling. Okay, so the sun comes in through your window, hits the lounge is black, it absorbs the heat, and then it radiates the heat inside your house. Okay, if you've got carpet, it's the same thing, curtains, same thing. So what you can do is some of these, there are formulas in that you can calculate the position of the sun, and you can extend your eave. Okay, so if we had a larger eave, we would be able to block out more of that sun. Okay, if you put a pergola on the outside of your house that shades a portion of a wall which there are windows in, you've then reduced the amount of sun that penetrates the inside of your house. Now, that's really good in summer. You want to stop the sun from coming in your house, but in winter, you actually want as much sun in your house as you could possibly get. Okay, there are, okay, they talk about shading devices. Okay, you can see here where they've got a pergola or a small screen. Okay, like I said, okay, this is a good example, summer and winter. You know, the summer sun's high, the winter sun's much lower. Okay, so that's what you can, there are formulas to calculate, you know, exactly how far the sun can come into your house. But look, there's all sorts of things that you can do. Here we go, calculating sun angles. And believe it or not, probably 18 years ago, I did these calculations to see how far the sun would get into my house. And I put a veranda on the side that I wanted to protect. And I can't tell you how I arrived at the answer, but I actually did it and it was right. But it was so long ago, I couldn't tell you why. It was the only time I've ever done it, and the only time I was motivated to do it. So yeah, it is. It's really interesting to know that it does work. The summer sun and the winter sun, okay? You can protect your windows from getting the sun inside, and there's a balance there as to how big the eave is. Okay, this goes through all the information there. Really good examples. Okay, louver windows. You can have glass louvers, you can have cedar louvers, and yet you can see the different screening. Okay, the angles are certainly something that need to be considered, and you can see these Vigolas, I think they're called now, or something similar, and they're adjustable louvers, so you've got the choice then as to what you let in and what you keep out. Okay, there's one more quick thing to look at. This one is the same orientation, you know, how you orientate your house. Northerly direction is supposed to be the best. It talks about glazing size. You know, you can have coatings on your windows as well, films. But the good thing about this is all the information is there for you. Thermal comfort, you know, it does offer up so many ideas. It's not just putting regulations there that you have to adhere to. It's actually showing you how you can actually overcome some of the scenarios to heat and cool your house. Okay, so let's go back to look, I think what I'll do now, that's the end of the learning content. I'll just show, there is one other site there, but I'm not going to go through that site as well because there's so much information that you can actually look at and learn from. Now, I'll just go back through and open some of the quizzes up, or open all your activities up. Okay, starting from the top, you have to do the development application. So I'll start at the top and I'll start showing them. There is where you need to upload. So if you wanted to refresh your screen now, there's already a few things that I've opened. Okay, so there are a couple of quizzes to be done. There's a few forms that you need to fill out, and then you've got to upload. If, for instance, there are some links that I've missed, what you can do, you can just go to that council's website and you can actually find the information yourself. Okay, I'm fairly confident that most of the links are all right because I went through it today, but then having said that, I found one that slipped through the net. What I'll do